And here's Antonio Villaraigoso. He's majority leader in the California State Assembly. Once again, a substantial fellow. In June of 1997, he says, "We know the sunny side of midnight was the election of a Latino speaker in the State House, and also the election of Loretta Sanchez against an arch-conservative, reactionary, hate-mongering politician like Congressman Dornan." Now, if you'll recall, Congressman Bob Dornan was the man who said, sure, immigration is fine. An increasing number of Hispanics is just great. And if people who look like me, that is to say Bob Dornan with light hair and light eyes, if we go the way of the dinosaur, that's just fine. Here's a man who has opened his arms to Hispanics, and if he gets defeated, he is, according to this person, a arch-conservative, reactionary, hate-mongering politician. What about Mike Hernandez on the Los Angeles City Council? Speaking in Spanish, he says, "Somos Mexicanos." We are Mexicans. Then he switches into English. Mexico, some of us say, is the country this land used to belong to. We are the future. We will lead the Western Hemisphere. Well, are you prepared to be led by people who say, "Somos Mexicanos"? I don't think so. How about Armando Navarro? He is a professor at the University of California. On January 1995, he says, "Time is on our side. As one people, as one nation within a nation, as the community that we are, we Chicano Latino community of this nation, what this means is transfer of power. It means control." He's certainly upfront about it. And Ruben Zacarias, he's a superintendent of Los Angeles Unified School District, the school superintendent. He's talking about new citizenship procedures, whereby Mexicans become U.S. citizens. He says, "I'll tell you what we've done with the INS, that's Immigration and Naturalization Service. Now, we are even doing the citizenship testing that people usually had to go to the INS to do. And pretty soon, hopefully, we'll do the final interviews in our own schools." Apparently, he was met with laughter and applause at this point. He says, "Incidentally, I started this procedure very quietly because there are those that if they knew we were creating a whole new cadre of brand new citizens, it would have tremendous political impact." Well, what he's saying is, we, Mexicans, we will take over the procedure whereby people become naturalized U.S. citizens, and we'll do it quietly. We're going to establish this whole band of politicized new American citizens whose loyalties are to Mexico, not to the United States, and we'll do it quietly so that people won't get wind of what we're up to. And how about Richard Alatorre? He's a member of the Los Angeles City Council. In September of 1996, he says, "They're afraid that we're going to take over the governmental institutions and other institutions." They're right. We will take them over. And we're not going away. We're here to stay. I have two more people for you. One is Fernando Guerra. He is a professor at Loyola Marymount College. In January 1995, he says, "We need to avoid a white backlash by using codes understood by Latinos, but not offensive or threatening to others." Once again, this guy is planning, in effect, the displacement and overthrow of our people and our nation. He says we have to do it quietly. Code words, please. And here's a good one. Professor Jose Angel Gutierrez. Once again, this is no nobody. This guy is a professor at the University of Texas. In 1995, he says, "We have an aging white America. They're not making babies. They're dying. It's only a matter of time. The explosion is in our population. You must believe," speaking to a room full of Hispanics, "you must believe you are entitled to govern. Don't you find it curious that they are saying there are too many Mexicans here? That we're the biggest national security threat to the United States? I love it." And then he switches into Spanish and says, "Se están cagando cabrones de miedo," which means they are soiling their trousers, they're so afraid. Of course, he didn't use the Spanish word for soiling, I might add. Then he switches back into English. "I love it," he says. This man is gloating at the prospect of this demographic transformation of the United States, in which Hispanics, Mexicans, become a majority and take control. "I love it," says Professor Gutierrez. These people recognize that there's a fight going on, that demography is destiny. And when they talk about how they have to speak in code words, when they talk about having to do this quietly and not get a white backlash going, they are assuming, mistakenly, that they're dealing with a nation with a perfectly normal, healthy racial and national consciousness. Because that's, of course, the way they would react if it were done to them. If you were going to dispossess the Mexicans, you'd have to do it subtly. And that's why they think they have to, when they're not openly speaking about it. Of course, how does the United States react to talk of this kind? How do we welcome these people? Well, of course, we're supposed to be celebrating diversity. They don't talk about diversity. There's no talk in the quotations I gave you about multiculturalism or multiracialism. Of course, they will talk happily about these things if that means getting into those remaining institutions that are still majority white. But when they are majority, are they going to talk about celebrating diversity? No, that's for the gringo. He gets to celebrate diversity. In fact, for the past several decades, we have maintained a system of racial preferences according to which, as soon as a non-white walks across the border, he gets preferences compared to native-born white people. I can just imagine these Mexicans pinching themselves, wondering, is this a dream? Is this real? We get preferences just because we're Mexican. What an astonishing thing. And I can imagine calling up Jose on the other side of the border. This is a wonderful country, and tomorrow it's going to rain tequila. Of course, official America takes absolutely no notice of this transformation of our nation and of our society. Just this last week, a judge in Alabama ruled that because a Spanish-speaking Mexican could not take her driver's license examination in Spanish, that her rights were infringed, and ordered the Department of Motor Vehicles to conduct the test in Spanish. Now, of course, we will have more and more drivers who cannot fill out an accident report, who cannot read signs, cannot speak English. They'll be on the roads. Don't run into them. And of course, this to me sums it up perfectly. I don't know whether President Clinton is aware of the kinds of things being said by these people whom I've just quoted to you. Whether he is or not, he looks forward to the day when whites become a minority in the United States. He says we want to become a minority. The days of European majority, they're finished. They're done. He looks forward to being a minority.